When you stop to think about it, Reese's Pieces is a bizarre candy, yet it is one of the most popular sweets in history. This candy has been prominent in popular media, created generational wealth, and is known by practically every American alive today. Yet very few people have ever slowed down to consider how it came to be, or how the man behind it literally risked everything, lost everything, and then tried again. This is the story of passion and risk. This is the story of Reese's Pieces. I'm your host Ryan Socash, and you're watching Eats History. Let's start with the inventor of the buttercup, Harry Burnett Reese. Born on May the 24th, 1879, and brought up on the Frosty Hill Farm in York County, Pennsylvania. The only child of Welsh and English parents, Harry began earning money early in life, thanks to his creative yet practical innovations, from milking cows to building a frog pond where he would breed frogs to be sold to restaurants in the Baltimore area. I found that last bit to be a bit weird, if not unbelievable. So as a side note, let me elaborate. Yes, some Americans ate frogs in the 19th century, particularly in certain regions where they were abundant. Frog legs, in particular, were considered a delicacy by some people, and they were commonly consumed in areas with easy access to freshwater ponds and marshes where frogs could be found. French cuisine, which heavily influenced American culinary practices during the 19th century, also popularized the consumption of frog legs. And beyond that, some sources suggest that Native American tribes had eaten frog legs for centuries before European settlers had arrived in North America. So, while it may not have been a widespread practice across the entire country, individuals and communities did eat frog legs during this period. Anyhow, Reese married in 1900, and over the years had 16 children, 8 daughters and 8 sons, 13 of whom survived to adulthood. Curiously, extended family also lived with the Reeses, meaning that during a typical family gathering or meal, at least 20 people, or at times up to 40 were present. Anyhow, 1903 was also the year that Reese started his professional quest at his father-in-law's Virginia-based cannery, where he stayed until relocating once again in 1915 to New Freedom, Pennsylvania, to support his growing family. This is when a magical crossroad in Reese's life occurred, as just 2 years later, in 1917, he was hired by Hershey to work as a dairyman at Farm 28A. By 1918, he was promoted to manage an entire dairy farm called the Round Barn, gaining critical experience until 1919 when he was laid off in favor of automated milking machines. Even so, later that year, Reese took a major risk, combining the precious insights he gained from Hershey and his natural ingenuity. He started his own sweets manufacturer, the R&R Candy Company. The entity was ultimately reorganized as the Superior Chocolate and Confectionery Company and went as far as raising today's equivalent of $290,000 in a public offering. Even so, the business failed. Feeling the financial pressure of 10 kids and a pregnant wife, Reese tapped out of the candy game for a while, taking a job at a paper mill in Spring Grove, Pennsylvania, and then a second job as a butcher, and a third job canning vegetables. This is the point in our story where most entrepreneurs would call it quits, try something else. But Reese, he was relentless. Working 3 unfulfilling jobs was not going to cut it, so with the support of his father-in-law, the entire family moved back to Hershey, Pennsylvania. And once the family was settled in, Reese began working again in the Hershey Company's shipping department and was soon promoted to foreman. Things were good. The family had a nice home, stable work, and healthy kids. However, Reese still had ambitions and wanted to experiment with a variety of confectionery products in the basement of his house. And this is when he came up with 2 noteworthy recipes focusing on hard candy, chocolate-covered nuts, raisins, and mint. The Lizzie Bar and the Johnny Bar were named in honor of his eldest daughter and son, who was also working at Hershey's. So with his newfound confidence as a basement candy inventor, Reese once again incorporated another company in 1923. The H.B. Reese Candy Company was far more successful than the previous venture. Offering a large assortment of consignment, the company promoted its products by setting up specially coated tables in the front window displays of large department stores downtown. Additionally, free samples were handed out to the public. The initial menu of the company included candy like butterscotch, coated dates, peanut butter cups, and marshmallow nuts. The company did so well that it expanded in 1926. This is when Reese built a large home for his family and a massive factory right next door. In 1928, Reese paid special attention to the buttercup, developing an automated manufacturing process for it. Back then, the candy was sold at a penny each in packs of 120, labeled, quote, "Made in Chocolate Town." So they must be good. This is why the buttercup was initially known as the penny cup, and they were a significant hit. So much so that by 1935, the company had 62 workers, including 6 of his sons. Perhaps most crucially, he paid off all of his loans. It should also be emphasized that a great deal of Reese's rise occurred during the Great Depression, a time in which chocolate was a luxury good, making his success that much more mind-boggling. Recognizing his advantage with this particular product, he put all distractions aside and focused on buttercups, discontinuing all of the candies. By World War II, sales began to double every 4 years. Packing was further economized with an automation plant to keep up with the unprecedented growth. And by 1957, an additional plant in Hershey, Pennsylvania was completed. The new plant was modern, consisted of 100,000 square feet, and had state-of-the-art equipment. This was a monumental success. The company was earning today's equivalent of $125 million a year. But just when things seemed like they couldn't get better, tragedy struck. In the spring of 1956, Harry Reese headed down to West Palm Beach, Florida for vacation when unexpectedly, at the age of 76, just 8 days before his birthday, he died of a sudden heart attack. His sons promptly took over the company, which they sold to Hershey's in July of 1963. Now, let's put the apparent sentiment of family companies aside momentarily to recognize that this was a brilliant move. Hershey's operated Reese's Peanut Butter Cups as its own subsidiary for decades. Most people suspect that this was done since the original company never unionized, but there was another hidden advantage. The suits didn't tamper with the Buttercup's secret sauce too much, hence the treat was able to continue in authenticity. What they did do was employ genius marketing, fun variations, and even brand mashups. Customers always had their beloved original, but they could also get a big cup, a half-pound cup, or the world's largest 3.4-pound cup, also known as the Thanksgiving pie. They also messed around with the filling to almost a ridiculous degree. Again, the classic version remained pure, but the enthusiasts had the joy of experimenting with fillings like crunchy cookie cup, marshmallow, where you'd get an inside of marshmallow instead of peanut butter. There was the double crunch, which was like a traditional cup, but it had a filling that most people thought was similar to Snickers. Then you had the inside out Reese's, which is precisely what you think it is. Beyond that, there was a wide slew of holiday variations like peanut butter pumpkin, peanut butter Christmas tree, and the ugly sweater. The list goes on basically forever, but I think you get the idea. My point here is that under Hershey's ownership, Reese's Buttercup became one of the most well-known candy brands on the planet. Case in point, by 1969, just 6 years after the takeover, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups had become the best-selling product of the Hershey Company. By 2012, it was the #1 selling candy in the United States. Now let me explain what that means. As of 2024, 61 years after the takeover, the Reese's Brothers' original shares were valued at over $4.4 billion and paid out an annual cash dividend of $87.6 million. And now, of course, the taste test. Got a Reese's Big Cup in 2024, and let's see if it lives up to its reputation. So, a lot of candies and products have changed over the years, but this one seems true to what I remember. The other fun thing are these little rivets that you have around the buttercup from the hardened chocolate. And that's pretty amazing when you consider how much technology had to be implemented to get chocolate into this form. It's better than I remember. It's funny because most things like this change for the worse over time. I mean, go to McDonald's, you're like, I can't believe I used to like this as a kid. I regret that I didn't eat more of this as a kid. Anyways, share your thoughts on the episode. I hope you liked this one. Subscribe so that you can catch what we do next. And until next time, I'm Ryan Socash for Eats History. That's really good.